Okay, what's going on, boys? Look, guys, here, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to go over the 4-2-2 tactics. From now on, I'm going to release some of the best tactics that I think that I made, but never actually really made the cut. Obviously, FIFA 23 is coming out next year, and I wasn't really making any content. And someone said, why don't you just release all your videos that you plan to make, but didn't. So I thought, you know what, that's actually a good idea. So while I wait for 23, and obviously these tactics won't work anymore, because obviously in 23 there's going to be 0, there's going to be 100, and there's now long ball, but long ball's only for the first half. You know, you have short passing, as we've seen in the pitch notes. We have, you know, chance creation, with all these new features, so these tactics will not be the same. So in today's video, we're going to go over the 4-2-2, because one of the tactics that I really liked is very similar to the 4-4-2. Don't forget, the 4-2-2 and the 4-4-2 are almost identical. These guys are not really cams, they're more of wide wingers or wide cams. So essentially, it's the same formation on paper. Now, this is one of the tactics that I released, well, I was going to release, but I'll be honest, I didn't, because the 3-1-4-2 still trumped it. But it was quite a good attacking formation. Go have some fun and go use it. So the first thing is press with possession loss. The reason why I've changed to this now is because at this stage of the game, everyone has these footies cards. Now, obviously these cards have a really good high stamina and really good aggression. So whereas pressure on every touch was the more conservative approach, at this stage of the game you can go after press with possession loss. I mean, you might know people are using constant pressure from the first minute. Of course, I do not recommend that. You'll definitely lose stamina if you're going to do that. But of course, press with possession loss is a good pressing tactic. This is more of an attacking tactic. One, if you want to get the ball back as quick as you can. Now the width, contrary to belief, I prefer a lower width. I normally go around the 4 or the 5 mark, just because when you're defending, you want to be tight and compact as possible. Now, in theory, if you're a top tier player, I'd recommend maybe a width of 7. That way you can press, because obviously when let's say your opponent has the ball over here, obviously if you've got a wider stance, you're covering more of the pitch. You've got a wider area distribution, whereas if you're narrow, it's a much harder to cover the areas, and you can go down the wing, etc, etc. But a lot of players that are playing this game, you're not going to be like, okay, you know what, he's got the ball over here, let me use overload the ball side to compress his team. A lot of you guys are not going to do that. So what I would just say is, just leave it on 5 and 4. If you are that top tier elite player and you know what I'm talking about, then of course you can go to the 7 width. It's the same with the depth. Now, people say 7 depth, auto offside. I don't really believe in auto offside. First of all, through balls are extremely deadly. When people refer to it auto offside, what they're trying to say is the defensive line is trying to push up. Now, the last striker is where the defensive line will kind of take into place. So if your opponent's striker is over here, the defensive line will be there. And once the ball is attempted to make a play, they will try to move up. Now, this is all fine and dandy for the top tier players, the elite players, the pro players, because they manually select their centre back and they run back. So you got to make the choice. Are you that kind of person that can actually run back? Are you the kind of person that concedes goals from counter-attacks? Ask yourself that question. If you're nodding your head and saying, yeah, that's probably me, then I'd say go around to around about the 5 mark. Maybe even 4. That's what I'd say. But only if you can, then go around 7. Because don't forget, let's be honest now. I could lie to you and say use 7, but it's not going to help you if you're not an elite player. If you're a gold 2 player and you try using it, you're going to get done. So it's better off to know what you're good at. And I would say go with 4 or 5 if you're like, you know, gold 1 and above, below. And I would say elite 3 and above, I would say go towards 7. For defense style, now there's 2. You can either go with long ball or you can go with fast put-up play. Now, either one is completely fine with this formation. I've actually tried fast put-up play. The reason why I didn't release it, as I said again, is the 3-5-2 still trumps this formation. It's still probably one of the best formations in the game, as I mentioned. And even my 4-2-3-1 with the striker joining the attack, which I'll actually go over next week, the 3-5-2 is still better than it. So even though when I had the 4-3-1 striker join the attack, I'll release it next week because I thought, why not? But it's still not the formation that I like, because it doesn't really create the system that 3-5-2 does. So this is more of like a quick get the ball back, run forward formation. Now for the width, I've gone with 3. Now don't forget, contrary to belief, this is a very wide team. Think of this like a 4-4-2. That's the way you gotta think of it. Don't think of it like the 4-2-2. Ignore the fact these guys are cams. They don't play in the middle. They play very wide. So what we've done is we reduced the width to 3. Now, was that going to make them very narrow? No, it's not going to make them in the center, but it'll make them more centralized. I think that's the most important thing, more centralized. So I definitely recommend getting the width to 3. That way you still got the wide approach, but they're not so far away without the game. The 4-4-2, those wingers are just so far away. The benefit with the 4-2-2 is they're a bit more centralized. It's a bit easier if you want to kind of do the 1-2s with them around those areas. And I'll explain to you what we're going to do with the fullbacks in a second. And then of course the players in the box, you can leave that however you want. You can leave it on default. I leave it on default because simply I don't cross the ball. But feel free to change this parameter depending on your playstyle. Corners and free kicks, yet again, I still leave that on 1. In case you're wondering why, it's very simply because I don't really want to concede from a corner or a kickoff. Counter-attacks are so deadly. We know how much that through ball spam is effective this year. Do not take the risk. Now for instructions, strikers, we got them stay central, stay forward. No getting behind, simply because we have long ball or fast build-up play on. Stay central is important. That way they stay in the middle. You don't want, for example, your lamb or your ram overlapping, which I'll explain that in a second. Then for the left attacking mid, which is based on the left winger, we have him on comeback and defense. That is basically it. Don't forget, this is a very attacking formation. The only difference is that comeback defense just means that when you're defending, you defend with a 4 and a 4. So you'll have a bank of 4 and a bank of 4 behind. Leave these guys on the stay forward, you're going to get countered. It's better to have fast build-up play and run forward much quicker. Then of course if we go over to, so that's for both those players. If you want, you can put get inside the box for a cross, but I'm not going to. I'll explain the reason why. One of your CDMs, I'll explain to you in positioning. You can put them on stay back, cut passing lanes, cover center, and that's what you can do. Ignore Crespo for a second. That's what you can do for that. In fact, Lazaro will play that role. And then for the other one, you want to have balanced, drop between defenders, and put this guy on conservative. So what will happen is the left back and right back, we're going to put them on join attack, conservative, and overlap. Now what I would highly recommend for you to do is use the D-pad tactics, attacking fullbacks, and leave this on stay back while attacking. But let's just say you don't know what that is, then don't worry. So the idea is, what would happen is when you're attacking, this guy will drop between. You'll then have a back 3. And the reason why I went with the not so narrow width, but narrow enough that you can defend, is that when you're defending a shape of 4, you're going to have the central areas covered. So Lazaro will be here. You have your 2 center backs, and that will create your back 3. These guys will then overlap, and in turn, these will push these guys inwards, and these guys will stay central. And that's how you can create a really good attacking force. Now, of course, if you do lose the ball, you're not stuck with 2 players. Now, if you're a top tier player, leave this guy and stay back. And that way you can manage with, 2 defenders and 2 CDMs. But most people can't. That's the truth. So go drop between defenders first, and then have these guys on overlap. Now, I normally put the most attacking players. I actually play Eto in right wing back. I got him untradeable. But he does that job very well. Realistically, if you understand the game very well, left back and right backs, you just need pace, because recovery and pace is the most important thing. Tackling, anyone can tackle in the game, but that's kind of the way that I will do it. And the idea is that these guys overlap, but because you're playing a 4-2-2, not a 4-4-2, these guys will be a bit more centralized. So the idea is they're going to be next. Don't get me wrong, they're going to be next. These guys are going to be next to the cams, but the benefit is you can do the 1-2 with these guys, and then they can run inwards. So that way, if your opponent is parking the bus or there is too many players, you can go for it. And this is really a really good fun attacking 4-2-2 formation. Again, I didn't really release it because I still think the 3-5-2 is very much superior. Just for the simple fact, you've got 3 defenders, you've got the central cam, you've got a 2 striker, and you've got a left mid and right mid, which again puts it more superior in my opinion. But if you're looking for an overflow formation for the wings, but still maintain that 2 striker formation, this is definitely a viable option. Anyway guys, thanks for watching, and don't forget, I'll probably release a new tactics video probably every single day, or maybe every other second day, of all tactics that I made, but maybe I didn't want to release because it wasn't complete enough, or I didn't have time to finish it off. But anyway guys, thanks for watching, take it easy, and I'll catch you next time. Peace out.